Okay, and here we are back from my jolly holidays. The colour was a little bit too green, so I ordered some blue translucent nitrous cellulose colour, and I've popped that over the top, and as you can see, it's now the blue that I was initially intending. Far more satisfactory. It actually looks like a bloody blue now instead of sort of a sea green. Much happier with that. So we've got nice shiny frets, nice shiny shets. Everything's good. I've put a little logo on there. Everything's looking splendid. So now it's a matter of getting it all set up, putting the strings on, putting the pickups in, wiring it up and setting it up. Right, so the first thing to do is I've got my little plug here. Let's get the switch that's going to pop in here. Now, as you can see from here, the vintage cloth wire is a bit of a pain in the arse, because by the time you've got it all in, it's particularly faffy. There's an awful lot of it, and I don't particularly want all of this sticking through my holes. So the plan of action is to use this one, which I've just test run with it and put it in, and to be quite honest with you, I think we can do better. So if you get some 4-lead hookup wire, obviously there's 4 leads on here. There's 2 for the pickup switches, 1 for the output and 1 for an earth, ground, call it what you like. I'm going to use some 4-conductor pickup wire, which is going to do the job perfectly. Is contained, is shielded in one single unit, far more convenient. So the plan of action is to get that in yonder hole. That's going to poke out through there, come straight out of that one, straight out into there, and so much more convenient. So now I don't have to worry, everything's colour coded. I can just leave that as it is with plenty of wire on either side. I might just be a little bit more sparing. And now I've got lots of capaciousness, so that can sit and be chopped off round about here. Still give me lots of space. And now we can pop in the pickups with everything colour coded. So 2 pickups are just going to pop straight in here. Come on. Et voila. So these are both rated at 7.5 kilo ohms or micro ohms, whatever you like to call it. Can't remember. And we'll get these screwed in. I won't bore you too much with screwing all this in, but for all of you people out there, a little bit of wax makes life an awful lot easier. And these are just going to pop into their respective holes. I got given this off Trev Wilkinson, Slipstick. Not a sponsor, but bloody good stuff. When I say I got given it by Trev Wilkinson, he was there whilst one of his people gave me it. Bloody nice chap. Bloody splendid old boy. He comes to all of the shows with Wilkinson, and they're great. I highly recommend their stuff. I've used their hardware on quite a lot of things. Check him out if you don't know him. What he does do is an awful lot of good quality hardware, but not at the prices that you get from some of the other companies. So very, very usable stuff. I have yet to try his pickups, but I've heard very, very good things. So let me know. Put something in the comments. Okay, we shall continue with this. I won't bore you too much with all of the goop of screwing things in, because, well, most of you don't want to see me screwing things. Most of you want to see me actually making guitars, I think. So that one will get fed under there. And as you can see, these will jump in because I've only got 1 wire on there. So these pickups are hand wound affairs. These are Arundel pickups. They're as close as I want them to be to the old traditional PAF that you used to get, except that they aren't vintage correct. I've used different bases and things like that, more than anything to keep the cost down. But I've had these in a separate guitar, hence you can see a few little scratches on them. We'll consider them moderately relict. And essentially they were really good, and I didn't particularly think that they suited the guitar that they were in, so I swapped those ones out for some more modern ones, and I think these more low output ones will suit this particular guitar. So yeah, cracking. Right, hardware on, not exactly taxing. Plan of action now is just to pop some strings on, and if my calculations are correct, we should be pretty good to go without much in the way of setup. So the first thing we need to do is just check, without strings on, that we are nice and straight, and yep, we're flat as a pancake there. So no need to immediately adjust the truss rod. D'Addario XL 10 to 46, very standard strings. Remember, it's a left-handed one, David. And the nice thing with locking tuners is that stringing is quite quick. So what I tend to do, I'm not sure if you can see there, let me move you around a little bit. There we go. So what we should do is, obviously this is the bass E, so I know that that's there. I'm going to take it up to the next one, give it a little snipperoo. And what I'm looking for is that just a lock-in position there. Going to give it a little tiny bit of slack. And what you're looking for with a lock-in tuner, some people think that the stability and all the rest of it is better. I'm less impressed with that, to be honest with you. What I'm looking for is about half a wind, so just enough. Round about there. I can snip off the ends to tidy it up shortly. Let's just get all the strings on. And what I'm looking for is, I've slammed this down. I don't want this to be a crazy shreddy type thing. I want this to ring. So you do need the action a little tiny bit higher, but we can adjust that accordingly. So same again, bringing it up to the next one. Snipping it off. Popping it through with a little bit of slack and locking it. And then bringing it to tension. So the idea of me snipping these off is no more than so as I don't cut my fingers to ribbons. And as I say, we'll go and tidy this up right now. So once we've got everything strung up into position, then I can just get a brief check on the action, brief check on the nut height, and away we go. Let's do the other four. And there she is with strings on. So I leave a little tab on each of those until I'm very happy with things. Now let me show you how the nut should be cut. Okay, so with the strings roughly to tune. I'm not going to stand there and tune it right now. If I put my finger in between the 2nd and 3rd fret, there should be just a tiny little tick of a gap. So that one's a tiny touch high, that one's a little bit about right, that one's about right. Yep, good, good. So the only one that needs an adjustment is that one, which is here rather than anything. You can get very technical. You can actually start to adjust these with various feeler gauges and say, I want this much clearance underneath the fret. It's a very individual thing. I like to be a little bit conservative on mine to start with, for 2 reasons. Firstly, everything needs to settle. Secondly, they're going to go down with play wear. As you tune them up, you're going to get a little bit of wear through that. So you don't want them crazy high, but you do want to have a nice feel at the nut end of the guitar. So that is a 36, which is that one. So if I have another little feel, it just needs a tiny little space out. So I'm angling that in the direction of the tuning post, and I'm angling it slightly back so that the front edge is where we are being tuned from, and that's the height, and the back is then relief. And you have to be careful, as much as it's bone, which is hard, you don't want to be over the top, so very much keep checking. Perhaps a tiny bit more. So you go very gentle. Now that I've got things going, we can be good. A lot of people will tape off this area too. And that's feeling ever so slightly lower than the next one maybe. I'm going to leave that there. I will go through this again at such a point as in about a week's time, once it's been under tension and the neck's going to start to settle into its position with the string tensions. Then we go back and we check how things are once we've got correct relief. I know that it's straight at the moment. I know that the strings aren't up full tension, so I'm getting in the ballpark, but we're close ballpark. Okay, so quick look at the action as it stands. Like I say, I don't want this particularly high, but I want this round about 3 to 4 64ths, round about 4 to 5 64ths, which is a lowish action but not crazy. So I've got my little one of these, which is awesome. Cost me all of about £3. This is my 64ths. So if I look on here, this should read about, looking between the top of the fret and the base of the string, about 3 64ths. And this side, 4, maybe 3.5, 4 64. So I think I might just move that up a tiny little touch. And for that we find our flat screwdriver. And because the strings aren't under a lot of tension, I'm just going to move that a tiny touch, move the bass side up a little bit more. I think about there. Now I'm going to have to chuck it on this side. So that is 3.5 64ths. Where's my little bloody gauge gone? Is that on the right one there? Yes, there we go. 3.5 64ths. I know it's a silly thing, but it's American, and that is 4 64ths now. So I'm going to leave that there. It will rise once I get these to tune, and then I can drop it back down to thing. But for starters, we'll see how that plays. Okay, folks, so we are roughly in tune. I won't say it's perfect, but it's good enough for government work. So in order to check the neck relief, I've got my notched straight edge. I'm going to pop this in the middle, and we're going to see where we're up to. So looking at round about the 6th fret, we're still pretty flat there. Ever so slight bit of daylight, but not a huge amount, so it doesn't really need anything doing on there. In order to check the relief of the strings, you put a capo at the 1st fret, like so, put the string down at the body joint, so I tend to go on the bass side, and you're checking it round about the 6th fret, which is there. So I can hear that there's relief. There is play there. Let's see how much relief. That's a 5/1000. Just there. Little bit of daylight. There's a 2/1000. So I've got a 4,000 and a 2,000 to make 6,000. And that's where we're up to. So 6,000 is nice. Same applies on this side. Yeah, we're there at 6,000. So that's grand. I think we've got a reasonable amount of action on there. Now, because I've adjusted the truss rod just now to get that flat to show you guys, let's recheck on the action at the 12th fret. So that's dropped a little smidge down to about 3.5, and that's down to 2. So it may be that we have to increase that a little bit. But given that the strings are at tension, I'm expecting that to bow back up again and give me a little bit more relief. I'm going to leave that for a day or two and then recheck. I'm happy with the lower action. However, I don't want any string buzz. Here, as I'm getting up there. It may just be a tiny touch of string buzz, but we'll see what that's like once it's wired in. It's all about feel for the individual. I tend to set it up a little touch higher for most people, so as it rings out nicely. Like I say, this is going to be a demo guitar to take to the various shows. Next show, I believe, is Leeds, Pudsey, early October. So still a couple of months away yet. So we're just going to leave that one for now. I'll let this settle in and we'll do a full setup on it later on. Once it's all wired and I can have a good way, the way it feels and plays, we can adjust the pickup heights and go through the sort of electric side of the setup as well. Splendid stuff. See you soon. Alright, so we're all wired up now. We shall just have to plug it in and see if it works.